Serenity Caldwell was a former alumni, as Renee Ritchie are former alums. Um, I'm sad to see a diminishing.
I kind of stepped on you. The news is that iMore is no longer. So
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't, yeah, it's almost sounded like Serenity and Renee passed away. That wasn't it.
Oh, heaven forbid. Yeah, they're both still. Serenity Caldwell was a
Hey, she's still a kid.
real. Yeah, I think she's working for Apple. Is she working for
I
Apple now?
believe so.
Uh, I know Renee's
And
working
Renee was
for.
working for Google, wasn't
Yeah,
he?
yeah.
For
He's
YouTube.
like he's one of their content creator gurus or liaisons, and
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone can benefit from his path and stuff. But it saddens me to see just like a lot of the print media has been facing some challenges in the last few years and stuff. These tech sites and stuff, the ad dollars are getting more difficult to, you know, it's just become more challenging for them in this environment and stuff. Podcasts are much the same way. You know, um, um, Leo Laporte's site and stuff. They've gone to kind of a subscriber-based deal, and they've had some challenges cutting back staff and departing from their old physical facility. So,
Oh,
I
they did, huh?
yeah, he's doing it out of his he has a room in his house and stuff, and I
Well,
mean there's
I
not.
remember when they moved into that new studio. That was
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, yeah. I always they used to have a studio audience and stuff, and I never made it down there to be a part of that. I was always curious because it's not.
It was cool. I did
Yeah.
it.
Did you go?
Oh,
Cool.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so I don't know. I just it's it's always you always want to find sources of information that are timely and stuff. It just seems like these days, as the events come out, they'd appear on a lot of the tech sites and stuff, and it's getting harder and harder to, uh, find good original quality information and in the tech landscape. Um, and with AI, coming on the scene, it's we'll see. They can have AI make podcasts now.
Oh,
It's
gosh. Yeah.
yeah, uh it's changing quick and like sometimes change is difficult, for everyone to wrap their heads around and navigate and I don't know, it's moving pretty quick and
Yep.
yeah,
And not always for the better. And
no, no,
it's amazing because the content creators, they 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 have to play to a couple masters because unless it's a subscription basis thing, they they're it's just like the old TV stations where everything was funded by the advertisements. Well, it's the same thing. These content creators are funded by the ad dollars that Google gets. And so what they have to do is to make a living. And again, I mean, it disintermediates it so well, and there's so many out there. But the problem is how does the cream rise to the top? And so there's algorithms that happen to make them become more visible. I mean, and they have to kind of tweak those. And it's difficult. So, it's you see the clickbait headlines, and then what the content is nothing like what the headline was, and it's sad. And I don't know.
don't know where it's heading. I'm not sure if it's yeah, I don't know.
Well,
Sometimes
go ahead, Al. I mean, yeah, speak to it.
I think I long for a simpler day. I'm an analog. I've come from an analog beginnings, and then I've made transition to a digital life. And I'm sure every generation faces this, but sometimes I long for a simpler circumstance on the internet. With
So tablets and stone?
yeah, I guess, I mean, I love the internet. I spent hours and hours every day on it. I'm a heavy
And
consumer
it
of
and it
content.
sucks us right in, and it can be a time waste.
It is. It
But
is definitely a time suck.
but I get there is so much knowledge and information out there, and I'm an info junkie, as I know you are, and Bob is, and but yeah, the problem is it's the what I call the signal to noise ratio. So basically, I watch a lot of YouTube, but I watch it at 2x because I that gives me twice as much time to
Uh,
find out their information. And some of it is just mind numbing. What, Bob?
Huh. I don't know. I just doing everything at double speed. It cracks me up.
Well, but then the whole idea
it
is
helps.
because then I have more time to explore other stuff also. And now there's certain people, now not to get political or anything, but like Ben Shapiro, you can barely listen to him at regular speed because he talks so fast. And I don't really listen to him anymore, but it was kind of, but I mean, there's other people like Clark Howard. I play Clark Howard at double speed and he sounds like he's talking normal. And if I hear him live, I think he's had a stroke.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I know exactly what you mean. I mean, there's a lot of folks out there who are really smart, who, they don't always present as well. They may have, and I'm seeing more and more of these, I was watching the, um, doggone, I was watching this keynote on something here not long ago, and I don't know. Despite the fact we have all this, Zoomtopia. I was checking in on some of that stuff. Uh, Zoomtopia is this event that the Zoom company puts on to highlight, emerging technologies that they're doing, and they have it, I guess, yearly now. Uh, just a lot of folks don't present as well. This one I was looking at was a hybrid model where they had a small in-person audience and of several hundred maybe, and then they had an online audience that was probably tens of thousands, and it seemed like they were playing more to the in-studio audience, and it just did not come off as well, as when it's set up for kind of more online engagement. Um, just personal bone to pick. I mean, not everyone presents well. Uh,
yeah, but I have to tell you, that was the hardest thing for me when Zoom started was presenting without the feedback.
yeah,
And and you know, you
it's
don't know
important to have that
you don't
conversation.
know if your joke lands or anything else, and it's different. And that's where I actually think the more successful ones are when it's not one presenter, when it's either a cast like I mean, one of the most excellent podcasts and one of the world's most popular out there is the All In podcast. Jason Calacanis and them and these guys, first of all, there's no commercials because these guys are venture capitalist tech entrepreneurs that know their stuff and they have varied political views and they don't need to do this and they are very very successful. I would venture to say that they're probably half billionaires to billionaires just from being able to look at what tech is doing. And that's a wonderful one. All In podcast. I think they do it every Thursday. And they're just ones like that. And the problem is though, that can be an hour and a half long. So, and you don't need to do it where you don't need to see them because there's nothing to see. So you can do it in your car or when you're shopping at Home Depot or whatever. But I play that one at 1.5 speed also. So I'm sorry, I do that one at two X usually. So
I know what you mean. Some folks, their natural cadence maybe not always lends itself. But I've seen the flip side of that. People that talk to so fast and it's so information rich, but it's almost too fast to absorb it all and stuff. I see a lot of folks on YouTube when they on their channels and stuff, and I'm planning this trip to France next year, and I'm trying to pick up some French culture and stuff from YouTube, and some folks that I was looking at, they were so quick, and they must just tightly edit each segments because it was running. There was no, didn't seem like there was a an opportunity for them to breathe. The
Right.
cadence was so quick, and
Well, and I tend
granted,
to
I can
present
watch it multiple
too
times,
fast myself.
yeah, uh, I don't know. I just found it challenging and stuff.
When are you going to be in France?
I booked this 14-day gate one thing where we started in London for 3 days, and I go underneath the English Channel on the channel, and wind up in Paris, and then we take this river boat cruise down the Seine.
What are your dates?
I think we depart here April 28th.
Oh, okay. No problem. I was
Shoulder
checking.
season,
I'm going.
you
That
know.
would be ironic if we were both there at the same time.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great. And then of course we end up in Paris for a few days before we
Yeah,
depart. So I'm looking at those Gate One promotions about every time. They send 2 or 3 a week, and
I know.
I have my own file full of stuff that when the right moment, right time comes up,
Yep, I'm
yeah,
right with
I'm
you.
all over that. So excited about doing it and trying to learn as much about the culture and not be an ugly American, and
Yeah.
and trying to pick up some of the language and some conversational tips and
So, have
cultural
you got your
sensibilities.
flight booked, or are you doing it through them?
Yeah, I'm doing it for them. I
Okay,
and
I think that's good.
I still got to finish paying it off, but I'm looking forward
Yeah,
to it.
that's the hard part. Scheduling it's easy. So
Yeah, yeah. If you pay it off, they give you like a 5% discount or something like that if you just give your routing number to your bank, and that'll
yeah,
go.
the problem with that is my credit card gives me all kinds of trip insurance and coverage, so it's worth the 5%. Barbara Moore, go ahead with your question. You're muted.
Sorry. How do you play your stuff at 1.5 or double speed? I haven't listened to podcasts in ages, but that one sounded
Well,
interesting. You were
so
mentioning.
what's interesting is you assume everybody's going to sound like Alvin and the Chipmunks, but it really
Yeah,
doesn't. What it does is it takes so compression is what it's called, and it takes the dead spots in between and compresses that. And so you don't really get, and it depends on who it is. But I find, and if you're sitting back and doing other stuff and you're a little distracted, it doesn't really work. But
yeah.
if I'm driving and I can stay tuned with it, it's fine. But I have I can hit the jump back 15 seconds if I miss something or something like that. Um,
What's the
I find that
control to what's the control to speed it up? I don't remember seeing
well, it
anything.
depends on which app you use, but it's in
Oh,
settings.
okay.
And if you use the regular Apple Podcast app, you go into settings and then you can set it system wide and have it do it. And I would find that start out, baby steps. You could do 1.5 and
Yeah.
see if it works for you or not. So
It will vary
to
from
me, it's a matter of I look at it like if I can do that, I can consume more content, and that drives me because I would love to be able to consume more than I all the time. It's an addiction, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is you don't feel like you're wasting time, as you say, if somebody's going a really low speed, you're kind of like,
Oh, I know. And
yes,
Clark Howard's
yes,
the perfect
yes.
example. He's a slow talker, and you know what? I mean, I've known some slow talkers, and what's interesting is uh they come across as simple and not as smart, but the most of the time that's not the case. They're
Yeah.
very bright, and it's just their mannerism, and I think it's a cultural and a geographic thing also. So
Yeah. Yeah, one more quick question, Clem. You've talked about getting your hearing tested at Costco.
what?
You've talked about getting your hearing tested at Costco. And since we're talking about listening to things, does Costco actually have hearing aids that have the listen live feature on Apple that you've told us about?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Costco has a great selection. The hearing aid market is changing dramatically.
Yeah.
I'm going to discuss it a little bit today as far as AirPods Pro 2, but yeah, they have their their Kirkland signature. They change vendors on it every so often,
Mm-hmm.
but they should, and they definitely do have MFI hearing aids. So,
Okay.
but I mean, best just get tested, and then you have a baseline, and then you can get retested every year, and it's a very good thing. So,
Thanks.
I think mine has gotten worse, but it may only be temporarily because of this polymyalgia rheumatica I had.
Yeah.
So I'm holding off on getting another test, but I sense that I'm kind of like struggling to hear where I was borderline needing hearing aids before. And, you know, and I'm not one who listened to loud music or anything like that. So it just happens with age. So,
Yeah.
all right. Any other questions before we move on to the content, iOS 18? All right, let me share my screen. And I believe we're recording. Yes, we are. And excuse my voice and that because it's just a little brutal. Luckily, it's just kind of a cold. So, all right. So before I get started, I want to point out an app that I have been very active with for the last few days or the last week. It's an app for the phone, and it's called My Aurora Forecast Pro. And this is the Aurora Borealis. Now, the Aurora Borealis is very hard to predict because it's the solar gases hitting the oxygen in the atmosphere that cause it to happen. It's 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 never, I should say not never, but it's 99.9% of the time is never visible during the day because everything's too bright. Doesn't mean it's not happening, but it happens predominantly at night, or excuse me, it's visible at night and in the northern latitudes. But I have to tell you that I was able to capture this on October 7th, 3 miles from my house. This is an iPhone photo, and it's looking directly north. You can see hang on, I'm going to get come on. Over here by this tree, this light behind it is Grass Valley. And I live near Lincoln. This is off of Sierra College Boulevard. And at first I thought, oh man, the clouds are going to ruin it. But actually, I think the clouds really drew into it. And it's pretty neat. So it's very rare to get Aurora Borealis down in these areas. So you can see here and everything's vertical because it's coming through our atmosphere. And so it streaks like this. And just pretty darn amazing. This one was taken with my Sony camera, a little more intensity.
Nice.
Here's the location. I think I sent this to Al, but basically, this is Sierra College Boulevard, and you go north of Highway 80, and you go along quite a ways until you get to this stop. Here's what's called Highway 193, which is the end of Sierra College Boulevard. But if you turn in where this stoplight is, it's a new housing area. And I search Google Maps all over the place to get a good northern view. You need to be up high enough, and then this is an unobstructed view, as you can see here. to the north. So really lucky. And it was really good. It was not as good. It was stronger. So it's on a 1 through 9 scale. Those pictures you saw, it was on the 6 on the scale. And 2 nights ago, it got up to 8. Excuse me, on a 1 through 9 scale. And it just didn't seem to be as good. So we talked briefly earlier about macOS Sequoia. There's no need to be on the bleeding edge. If you have a compelling reason to do it, you should think about it first, but it's really good and it's working well, and I think it's going to be pretty solid. I personally am not running it yet because I don't want to mess things up before I travel. Today, we're going to be talking about iOS 18, and it's definitely a go. And then keep doing the updates of it for your iPad and your iPhone, even though it's not 2.1 yet. So, get another cough drop going here. So iOS 18, there is a lot in this update. It really, and it's amazing. At the end, I'll show you what phones it's compatible with, and it's pretty amazing. But it is truly something. Now, these are all the features. We're going to go through every one of these today. Not really, but it's got tremendous ones. And this is on Apple's website. And I'm sorry I didn't provide any links for Al on this, but yeah, all of these are clickable on it to talk about it. But it's under the regular Apple iOS 18 headers. I'm going to talk briefly about Apple Intelligence. Apple Intelligence is only out to the beta users right now. Later this month, in the 18.1 update, it should start rolling out to people, and it will still be getting refined, and it will become more and more powerful as it goes along. But Apple Intelligence can do things like on the left here, where you see that it can it'll pretty much read what you're writing, and it'll proofread it for you. It'll rewrite it for you. You can make it sound more professional. You can make it sound more casual. And it's amazing because artificial intelligence will be taking what you wrote. And you could even say, let's say you write something that's too long, and you say, well, go ahead and condense this to 3 paragraphs or something like that. And it really does not just make it less, it takes the content and adjusts accordingly. You can do things like this where you can say, create an image in Brooklyn at sunset and a dinner party, and make that image out of artificial intelligence. With Siri, you'll have all kinds of extra features with Siri that leverage the artificial intelligence it did in the very beginning, but to a whole new level. It's just amazing. So here is the writing. So if you look here, you can say, okay, proofread it, rewrite it, or make it more friendly, make it more professional, or make it concise. You can also come down here and create a summary, key points. You can make a table. You know how hard it is to make tables a lot of times, or even into a list. So it will do that, and you just tell it what to do, which is amazing. Here was this Brooklyn dinner party we talked about, so it just kind of made that picture of it. You can have a Memoji be a race car driver. You can do all kinds of different things. You could say race car driver with blonde hair or something like that. There's a new setting in Mail that is primary. In other words, it's going to curate your mail and say, oh, well, this is important. We want the United check-in for the flight there to be foremost and present because that's important. And then Florence invited to something. This is for a meeting that's at 11 a.m. today. So it goes through your messages and puts stuff and prioritizes it for you. Now, this is not in mail now, but it is coming in very soon. Different things, you can do the AI that does the images. This will actually listen to a phone call and summarize it for you. Let's look. I have some other ones here. You can create a memory. This would be a good example here. You can start writing an email and then attach something right to it, and you can even pull information from that. So its ability, and so not just when you're writing an email or something, if you're reading a page on Safari, you can use AI. Say, condense this long paragraph into, or this long article into 3 paragraphs. And it's the ultimate Cliff Notes. It's really, really, really amazing. Here again are the different features you can do in the writing. And again, you just tell it what to do and it does it. We talked about the priority notifications. So it will prioritize those, Instacart may send you like an ad saying, oh, you haven't used Instacart in a while. Well, that's not priority. But the one says that the delivery estimate, that would be a priority. And other meetings. We talked briefly about the primary mailbox. That's coming shortly. You can have it take in the message, the long message, and then it summarizes the key points down here. So it's really actually, we talk about doing podcasts at 1.5 or 2x time. It's really doing kind of the same thing for your information. It's going to cut right to the chase. Notes will now, you can speak to notes and it will transcribe what you're speaking and put it into a note for you. Reduce interruptions. You can, it says here, you're in a meeting and instead of the text coming through, it's going to pop up and just tell you that seems like an important note, and it will silently let it come up and be visible for you. We talked about the writing focus. Like here's a really neat thing, a smart reply. So they're saying, thanks for the invite. We'll be there and we'll drive. Let me know if you need anything else. And then you could ask, will the partner be joining? Yes, no, etc. like that. And you can do a reply that way. So it's trying to think ahead for you. This has to do with photos. So search in photos has always been really good. It's getting better. It's going to say, find me pictures of Katie with stickers on her face. So because of the facial recognition, they've already set Katie as a person in there. And it says, just go find him. And it could say, in this case, and then it says, when she's wearing a green top, and then it would not include these 2 pictures. You can add more things to the dialogue and further refine it. Or you can just say, find me pictures of Katie, or find me pictures of people wearing stickers. So this is going to be really cool in the new photos. The new photos is leveraging AI. And what it does is it's the cleanup tool. So it will go in here and you just, with your finger, draw a circle and say, clean up, and it gets rid of that person and fills in what the beach would look like, all the gravel and everything behind it. And it'll even work if that person was kind of touching that person. It really uses AI to figure that info out. So in photos, it's rather than going through a whole bunch of stuff, you can just tell it, show me all the desserts I ate during the summer, and then set it to a pop song. So how easy of a slideshow is that? Now, obviously, once it gathers all the desserts you ate, if there were some you wanted to forget, or there were duplicates or something like that, you could pop those out and it wouldn't be a problem. So artificial intelligence will do a tremendous job. And again, it already has analyzed, because the Apple Intelligence artificial intelligence engine is so strong, it will already have defined that that looks like ice cream or gelato and it's a dessert. Okay. Siri has been kind of handcuffed. I have a love-hate relationship with Siri. She is my girlfriend, but she's been very, she hasn't grown. She's gotten worse with age, I think. And the problem is that Apple is so concerned about your security and your privacy that it doesn't let it reach out, and um, it doesn't let it leverage the internet to go get information, because that would be a breach of your privacy and your security. So it's really just kind of doing what it already knows and not reaching out. And so artificial intelligence is going to put a tremendous amount of that knowledge inside the chip in the phone, and it will do the search within that. But Apple Intelligence has the ability to go outside and go to the internet, but only with your permission. In other words, if you were searching for something that was very sensitive, it would you would say, no, don't go out on the internet then. Again, mentioning the privacy, it's never stored anywhere, your data, and your requests aren't stored anywhere. And Apple is, I mean, they've taken longer to develop the AI, and it's not been as good because they've handcuffed themselves with this. And there's other models out there you can do, but I really think it's good and in the long run. So Apple has an agreement with ChatGPT, and they're essentially running it inside the phone. But then ChatGPT, rather than going out to OpenAI, who is ChatGPT, they're actually running it on Apple servers. And so therefore it's got the privacy and security you would want. And so that's really pretty good. So, and you can still pay for and get more ChatGPT if you decide to do a subscription with ChatGPT. So this is not what iOS 18 will run. This is only what Apple Intelligence will run. So any of the new iPhone 16s or 18s that are out, I'm sorry, iPhone 16s that have the A18 chip, the 16s and the 16 Pros run it. Apple 15 Pro, the iPhone 15 Pro from last year will run it. The regular 15 will not. And then in the Pros, it's all the M series chips. The Apple Silicon are the only ones that will run that. And what's interesting is, and Al appreciates this, there's no Vision Pro listed, which I find amazing. So now we're getting back to iOS 18. It's so weird. We're on chip is the A17, the phone is the 16, and the iOS is 18. They just need to put all those and sync them at one time to all of them. But anyway, so there's always been some sort of personalization you can do with your home screen and things like that. Now there's a tremendous amount more. You can actually, if you look here, this is the weather app, and it's showing you, and you can do adjustments on the color and the darkness or lightness, how big you want it. You can drop colors from other places, like if you wanted to match the blue in this suit that's on that picture, or you can just pick different shades of the icon itself, even with the The automatic, that would be a difference between day and night. It would change depending on what time it was. But you can change them however you want. What's really neat too, they used to always be snapped to a grid. Well, what's cool, now you can take them and make them a ring around the photo that's there. So you have much more creative access to it. There's two other features you can do with apps. You can lock and or hide an app. So in other words, if you hide an app, it doesn't show up on the screen and it will not even show up in search. So if you have grandkids that come over and they use your phone and you don't want them to get into, say, your Facebook app or something like that, you can both hide it and or you can lock it. So in other words, you have to use the Face ID to fire that app up. So I think that's really good. Control Center, this little thing that's always been up here like that, now has a lot more features. You can totally customize it. You'll notice there's some headlights here. Here are your favorites. You can go directly to music, to home, your Wi-Fi settings, things like that. But there are a lot of other things you can add to it, including non-Apple apps can go into Control Center. It's fully rearrangeable. And if you drag this corner down here, you can make the icon bigger or smaller. In this case, the music icon is bigger than the rest of them because you want to be able to get to the controls. Also, what's really neat, you can change now where this has always been the flashlight and the camera. You can now change these. You still only have two of them and they're available on the lock screen. But what's interesting is now that some of the phones have this camera button, or the fact that you always can access your camera by taking your finger off when your phone's on the lock screen and you take your finger over to the bezel on this side and slide across from right to left, that will activate your camera. So you don't necessarily have to have that button there. The flashlight, of course, can be activated from Control Center. So you can make this anything you want. This could be your music app. It could be anything. And you have one-touch access to it. So a lot more functionality than there used to be. The new Photos app has it looks different and shows different, but down basically it's the same. But what I like that now they have other categories here. It's going to automatically, you have these categories and you can make custom ones however you want, and you can change the order. But in fact, you can have it show you recent days, or you have one where it goes and finds people and pets. If you've pinned photographs, not favorited, but pinned a photograph, your memories, your trips, things like that. So it's really, really neat. And because we're getting so many photos, it's a great way to find out, hey, what do I need to do and what do I want to go see? And this is it on the main screen here. And it highlights people you've interacted with more readily. So Photos is really good, and there's a lot of features built in behind the scenes. You know, messages. Oh, Mary's got a question. Go ahead, Mary.
Yeah, and Ken, first of all, I'm sorry you sound very not well, and I'm sorry.
Me and Mae West, you know.
Yeah. But on the memories, it pulls up some memories sometimes that I really don't want. I mean, I took photos for a reason, but that doesn't mean I want them to pop up in my memory schedule or whatever. Can you somehow mess with the or what am I trying to say? Edit?
No, yeah. Al, do you have a comment on
memories?
that, or is it something else?
No, this is about that. My question. I didn't want to step on you,
Well,
Mary.
then hang on. Let's go back. Let's try and address Mary's first, if we could. I saw Bob. Bob, have you dealt with that much?
Whether
Editing the memories.
Yeah, curating.
editing,
That's
no,
what I would say.
I actually
Yeah.
have it turned off.
Oh, that's what I'm gonna do. Thank you. It's just
Yeah,
So
if you
Mary,
go
just so
into
you know, like in this thing,
Yeah.
You can reorder them, which gives you, so it would be a
Mhm.
lower priority, but secondly, you would just check it and then it's not selected any longer.
Okay.
That
I
made
can,
it easier than it was.
I can deal with that. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know about editing it. It's a very good thing. I just kind of like look away, but I know what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah.
Al, go ahead.
You answered my question right there. I just want to make sure I heard you clearly the first time about the ability to reorder that list there.
That's what these little three lines are.
Uh-huh.
You can
Okay.
drag them up and down.
Uh-huh.
So that what shows up over here, instead of recent days being at the top, you could have, say, trips, for instance.
So you
And
do
that's the order of how it shows down. So we have our library up here. If we look back, so you have your regular library, and then you go down here into the
recent.
lower part.
Yeah.
So right now it's this order is recent days, albums, peoples, and pets. So recent days, albums, peoples, and pets. They should have made these coincide, but they
So you
didn't.
do that in the settings, in the in the
I believe
or photo.
it's no, let me look really quick. Good question. So yeah, mine has recent days. Oh, yeah. So you notice, see where it says modify down here?
Uh-huh.
When you tap that, you get the screen on the right over here.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no, excuse me. That's just for pinned collections. Hang on. Let me look. That's a great question how to do it.
Photos.
So let me just go to settings and we'll go to photos. Because I haven't reordered mine.
Uh-huh. That's gonna be one of the first things I do is that's a great ability to I'm not finding it here in the settings, print settings, photos. Okay, here we go. Here's optimize clouds, download original, set up share lights. Uh,
And don't they just send you a chip for your brain when they update the thing so that you know all this stuff?
Yeah, but see, I had a cold.
I'm scrolling through the settings for photos here and I'm not seeing it.
Yeah.
There's
So
a
the
re
okay.
there's,
Reorder collections, you care about those photos you recently. So we're in there somehow. So let me go back to because I looked under preferences and it wasn't there.
maybe there's something on that screen that maybe you long press and they start to get into the jiggle mode and then you can move them from there.
Did you find that or not? I'm
No,
not.
I did not. Like it's
Oh, here we go. Personalized at the very, very, very bottom. Scrolled all the way to the bottom if you're on your main page there. And it says customize and reorder, and then you get this.
And Ken, just a reminder for the crowd, if you can also just Google how do I reorder,
Right.
because I
Well,
think
and that's going to be the beauty of the new Siri with AI.
oh there
And
we go.
not only will it do that, it'll even do it, it'll say, do you want to do that?
but
And
I
it'll
think
bring
we
it up.
forget
That's
yeah.
huge.
Yeah,
But
we
yeah,
forget
so if you,
sometime, and I think it's just a reminder to kind of explore some of this stuff so that you can do it yourself.
yeah, and that's what all I did is I took this and I figured, well, it's got to be down here. Don't scroll up because it gets through your whole library, but scroll down, scroll from the bottom to the top, and it comes down and it has customize and reorder. And it's the screen just like you see
Yeah,
here.
that's a ticket.
Yeah. And then reset sets them back to scratch and then otherwise here. And then let me just look. Yeah, you simply tap to deselect. So in Mary's case, If you didn't want to see memories, you'd do that. Cool. It's nice that they're letting us do a bunch of that. And it is great because if you think about it, recent days, those are I mean, that's most of the stuff you're looking at, but
Yeah.
also, and now you can pin a collection too, which is good. And
And I like,
trips are gonna be great because what it does, it's like the old, gosh, remember when Mobile Me or Event, we used to have the event thing where Apple would do events in iPhoto, and it's going to get back to that. So, which by the way, I found a new trip app I'm going to be using, and I have to remember what it is. So hang on. Let me look because I found this thing and it's Polar. Let me pull it up here. Polar Pro. That's why I couldn't remember it right away. That's not it. That's the wrong one. Polar Pro trip. I think it's 2 words. It's the problem. Polar Steps. There it is. So Polar Steps, it went through and it will build as I do my trip, I can put in these parts and it does it all the way along. It tracks the countries I've been in, and I allowed it access to my library, and it went through and found 35 of the 37 countries I've been to using the pictures. And then I can go through, it didn't automatically make trips for them, but I can go back and recreate those trips and put it in there. But on my next trip, I will fire this up in the beginning and you'll be able, so what you'll do is you can make this map and everything, and it will it does it automatically, and it's based on the geotagging of your photos. And then I can say, okay, yeah, I want these pictures with that photo site. And it doesn't add them all, but it's really, really neat. And it's going to be a travel log kind of thing for me. So it's Polar Steps. So, and it does it. You don't have to even be on a big trip. It took a weekend when I went down to San Luis Obispo, and it just automatically does it. So, and then you can choose what you want in it. So I'm excited about it.
so that's a separate photo app. Does it
No. It's an app that uses your photo library if you allow it access.
okay.
So you don't take pictures in it, you take pictures and you allow it access to your library, and it can bring those in and build you like a trip log.
So do you view it inside of that app or
Yeah, it's inside Polar Steps. Isn't
is
that what
that
it was called?
does it have a Mac counterpart to that, Ken?
I
A Mac
believe it
OS?
did. Hang on here. Let's go to, yeah, good question.
Looks pretty promising.
Well, and it's free because they're trying to tell you, and I mean it's great because their only revenue is if you buy the books, and it'll put a book together for you. And to me, that's a great thing too,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I get back and on the trip I'm figuring out what I want, and I get back and I can make my coffee table book.
So you have to do it as you're taking the trip, or can you do
No, no, you can totally. It has those 35 of the 37 countries I've been to, and I can go back after the fact and put that stuff in. But
Hey,
it's one of those things that's a little easier when you do it. And yeah, they do have a Mac version of it.
okay.
Polar Steps.
On the list.
Yeah, and I can't wait. And to me, this way you can just and yeah, the book might cost $2 or $3 more than using somebody else, but it's done. It's there. So, and it's a iPhone, Android, Windows, and Mac app. So, and I forget how I found it, but I was very happy. And the other thing is remembering what it is. Okay, back to here. So good question, Mary, about the memories and then figure out how to do this. So we've got that again.
Great.
You'll scroll all the way to the bottom of this and it'll come up with the menu. All right. So messages, I've always said that messages are the least common denominator. Don't worry about the format of the font or anything else. But realistically, it's so hard in a short message to express yourself, and that's why we have emojis. That's why we have things like the hands or different things like that. But now you can kind of modify your text a little bit. You can make them jump up and down, and that's good. And it's only iMessage though. So for the time being, it's only when you're doing the blue text to someone else, though, these will come up. But it can give you a little bit more emotion on it so people know what you're trying to say. Because so many times in a very short message, people may misconstrue what you're trying to say. So you can give it some emotion, just like emojis do. Speaking of text, now all the people that have Androids that you're sending green text to, in iOS 18, it supports what's called it's coming up actually. Hang on here. RCS, which means you can communicate with them. You can now send them photos and videos and things like that. So this is super important. Messages via satellite. Like I know that up around Yellowstone in that area, a lot of times you're in dead cell zones. In fact, I was going along there in the winter and two trucks had just gone off. It was such a whiteout that they barely went over the edge of the road, and it was a flat area, but they were stuck. And they needed information. Well, luckily, a guy had a satellite phone, and we used GPS to tell him what the GPS location was, and the guy used the satellite phone. Well, now your phone, and I mean, think about Tennessee and Western Carolinas right now that got devastated in the first hurricane. Their phones, as long as they had power, were able to communicate by satellite in the SOS mode. Now, you're not making phone calls with that, but you can send messages back and forth. You may have to make sure you're in a clearing away from trees and things like that. So that's been available and is available for a long time, even without it's like started on I think the iPhone 14, if I'm not mistaken. So that's that little SOS, and it prompts you and asks you questions, and then it will submit your actual GPS coordinates. You don't have to worry about that. In messages, here's RCS we were talking about. So nice thing is sometimes early in the morning, I have somebody that I want to send a message to, but I don't know if their phone's on silent. I can tell it to wait until 10 a.m. or something like that, and then it will just schedule it. You just hit send, and it will send at a later time. RCS, Rich Communication Services. This is so you can send pictures and audio and stuff like that. It's not as secure as using the regular iMessage app because that is encrypted end to end. But just remember that, but you are going to have more latitude and better interoperability between the Android users. I think you should just get new friends if they're on an Android. So, or easier than that, tell them to get a real phone. Like we talked earlier about this is coming later this year, the primary box on email. And one thing I really think is cool here, it'll in messages, whether it be emails or text messages, it will group certain things together here for you that is, oh, okay, here's my 15 messages about that. All the united, the back and forth, the confirmation. Let's say they sent you a change or something like that. So really, really intuitive. And that's coming. I think that's not available yet because it kind of ties into AI. Now, this feature is huge. I don't know if you had a chance to use it yet, but if you're in Safari and you're looking at a web page and it has a whole bunch of crap on it, you can say, just show me the relevant information, and it does that. It pulls it up. And I've been on pages where there's all kinds of ads, and you can say, oh, okay, tap that and don't show me that anymore. And it takes that away. And I'm sure the advertisers don't like it, but it's really, really, really cool. You can, the reader, which is where it displays most of the, so here's this neat thing here. It really gets it down to the nitty gritty and even puts in a table of contents about what these articles are saying. So that's in Safari. All of your passwords, the new passwords app, which works across all your devices, stores Wi-Fi passwords, stores your passwords for apps, stores your passwords in Safari and your mail passwords, which is really, really, really good. And it works across all devices. And believe it or not, it even works now on Windows. So if somebody has Windows. The new maps, Apple Maps is improving dramatically. Al just posted an article recently on how to use this, but it is now, I use the All Trails app and it's a subscription. Well, I may not need that any longer because this app, the regular built-in Apple Map, will be doing great things. It has all the national parks done already, and they're reaching out to many, many other ones, and they're using the topographic survey maps. You can see here, it shows the elevation. Like if you're looking, how hard is that hike? And it shows you the elevations. And you can add the map to your library because you can go back. And then you can even, once you do it, you can even customize it. Like say you want to, let's say you wanted to do just an out and back, you could say, okay, take me from there to this point here. And when you put that point, just like you would in a GPS driving app, and it'll give you the stats for that. So really, really a big improvement in Apple Maps. AirPods, I think this is great. You know, many times it will say, it'll announce if I'm listening to a podcast, for instance, at 2x speed, and I want to hear pops up and says, you have a text from so-and-so. And then I can shake my head no, which means don't, it'll say, do you want to reply? And I'll shake my head no, or shake my head up and down yes. What I do, if you're ever doing that and you're listening to music and it comes on and it starts reading you a long text message, something, just say the word cancel very quietly and it will stop it reading that. And it'll continue with your music or your podcast. So there are, as we talked about last meeting, was all the new AirPods Pro stuff, and the new AirPods Pro that have voice isolation. So what it does is it will filter out and use noise canceling to filter out all the stuff in the back. And it does a great job of that with wind, if you're at a sports stadium, things like that. But what it also does is you want to remember that there's many times when you don't want to be completely isolated like that. So you can either use one of them, or what you do is you have 4 modes. You can turn off the noise canceling completely. you can do what's called transparency, which means the noise canceling is on, but you kind of hear a little bit of the other stuff. Then they have what's called, it's adaptive, I believe. And what happens is if it hears someone speaking, it will mute what you're listening to and make it so you can hear what someone's saying. I find that difficult because if I'm walking around Costco and I'm listening to a podcast and somebody is saying something, but not to me, it picks it up. And so it did it. I turned that off because I didn't want that, but it really does a great job of that. And then of course there's full noise cancellation, which is active noise canceling. Personalized spatial audio for gaming. I don't know how many people that apply to, but it really gives you that whole surround kind of effect. Note, we mentioned just quickly earlier, you can now do live audio transcription in Notes. So in other words, if you're sitting in a meeting, it will, in fact, we'll have to, for our next board meeting, we'll have to see if this works. But it says who's there and it goes back and forth and transcribes the whole meeting for you, which is great. Now, to put the names in it, I have a feeling you have to have the meeting scheduled with that individual for it to pull it in, but you can add that later. In Notes, you can now just put numbers in there and it will, you can type out what you want it to do and it'll do a calculation for you. You don't have to go into the calculator app. So in Notes, it'll do calculations for you. Notes has become such a powerhouse. I remember Notes goes across all platforms. Within Notes, you can do different things like collapsible sections. So you have a little caret there. You can make it bigger or smaller. And you can even do stand out with color. Notes didn't used to have a lot of different font choices. I found this very interesting, and I'm going to see if it came up for mine yet. Let's look here. Let's look. So with Home, used to be called HomeKit, you can have Siri later on that'll just like clean the floors for me, and your robotic vacuum, if it's HomeKit compatible, will do that. But what I found interesting, and I'm not sure if Smudge supports this yet, but I'm unfortunately in the Pacific Gas and Electric area. And what's amazing is PG&E has all these customers and they don't have a phone app, first off, which I just can't believe. So anyway, they have just good old web stuff. But now you can chart your electric usage and your solar and all that. And it's really pretty amazing that it's built into it. And so this was pretty good. I'm looking at it and it's yeah, so it's starting to chart what I've done. It took a while to connect, but all you give it is your PG&E info. So most of you are probably pretty lucky to either be like Bob on Roseville Electric or on SMUD, which is much better. This is the home app we talked about. Nice thing, what you can do now is, for instance, if you have a front door or a garage door that is HomeKit compatible, you can do it and you can schedule access. Like let's say you have workers coming over, you can say, okay, they'll have access with these particular ones at a certain time, and you can modify that and customize it for people. And then you can unlock doors magically for people if they show up. If you see your Ring doorbell and you know it's somebody you know, you can go ahead and do it. So also you can use your Apple Watch as you approach the door to unlock it. Again, privacy and security is really, really, really big. You can, within the apps, you can determine whether you want to share the contacts, share your contacts with other people. It's redesigned privacy and security. It's just reformatted how it is. I think it's a little easier to use. These two things are pretty great. The calculator now will do currency transactions. And so you can do, I'm sorry, currency conversions. So you put in, like in this case, well, these are all weird ones, but you could have it be US dollars to say euros, and you type in, and if you type in 456, it'll translate euros to dollars. Or if you hit the flip arrows, you can type in 456 and it goes dollars to euros. And then down here at the bottom where it's look out, what, Bob?
Quick note on that. I quit using their calculator because the version loses the paper tape.
Well, but it's back again. The paper tape will show. I believe.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is. So Bob, if you hit right up here, it shows your most recent transactions.
It's not the same. What it shows is not the good old paper tape.
Are you talking about on the computer or on the iPhone?
Both.
So the paper tape was never on the iPhone.
Or, excuse me, on the computer.
Right. This is on the iPhone.
Yeah.
Well, and it never had the paper tape.
I quit using their calculator.
What do you guys mean by paper tape? This is a calculator I've never heard.
If you have an iMac where the DVD used to be, there's a printer that prints out a receipt like tape. You didn't know that? Just kidding.
So it's physically the paper tape.
I'll show you. I'll show you in.
No, it's a display.
In calculator.
Okay.
If I look right here, so you guys can see my screen. You go up here to view, and you turn on. Oh, hang on. Window. Do paper tape. So window, paper tape, and right here it's displayed. So you go 892 times 365 equals, and it creates until you close the calculator, this goes away. Now, Bob, are you saying in Sequoia it's not there?
Correct.
That's
not
surprising.
In that same form. There's a history thing available, but it doesn't look like the paper tape. So
I'm I wonder if you could add, because you can run iOS apps in Sequoia. I wonder if you could run the calculator app, because the one for the phone does have it.
Will it?
Yeah, you probably can, but I'm using 42 all the time now.
What's that, Bob?
42 is a calculator app.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway.
I've just
will the paper tape print? Will the paper tape print out or not?
Yeah, print tape.
Oh, great.
I guess I wasn't the only one who didn't know about this. That's a great little feature. I have always been creating.
I have it. So when I close it, I have it. When I close it, it always comes back up and does it. It's great.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I wonder if that's just an oversight, Bob. I don't know. That's sad.
Yep.
But the nice thing is it's added it to the iPhone. So
anyway, sorry for the interruption.
No. That's good, because it made me look. So also when you're here, so that's where you would hit here. And when you hit that up there, it says it actually isn't necessarily a paper tape. It stores your recent entries. Excuse me. So it's very much like a paper tape. Then if you click down here, you get basic, scientific, math notes, or you can convert, like if you want to use conversion. It's by hitting this little button right here. So calendar has changed, and some people didn't like it like me, because I have a ton of reminders. It automatically showed reminders in here. And that my calendar was already too busy without showing all my reminders. So all you have to do is go down here where it says calendars, tap on that, and you'll see one of the calendars says reminders. Just deselect it so it doesn't show up. It works no difference than the other, but I do like that they made it so it can display inside of the of the um of the calendar, which makes sense. So all right, these are the all the way back to the iPhone SE second generation, and the 10R and the 10S all support iOS 18, which is really remarkable that it goes back that far. So, all right, time for questions. Oh, that wasn't us. Okay, anybody raise your hand or unmute yourself. Barbara, go ahead.
Yeah, when you were talking about the calendar and reminders, did I understand you say that you now incorporate your reminders into the calendar so you don't use the reminder app?
No, the reminder app is the same it's always been, but in iOS 18, it makes so in your calendars app, you have different ones. Like you can subscribe to calendars, you can have other email calendars, you can have a work and a home, etc. There's now the reminders calendar, so to speak, and it displays it automatically. I just told it to not display it. But if you want your reminders to show up and you can manage them in calendar, it doesn't take away what it already does in the reminders app, but they are able to be displayed or not displayed by your choice by just ticking off the reminders one. Does that make sense?
Yeah, are you finding one is more useful than the other?
Yeah, I have too many reminders in my calendar. I'm so full on every cell on my calendar anyway that I don't want that because it's just too much.
So you just use the
And I use
reminders app?
reminders. I never look at my reminders. My reminders come up. So
But you put them
I mean,
in
but
the
that's
app
me. I'm
rather than.
different. There's times when I may want it to do it, but for the current time being, it just clogged up my calendar. I was concerned that I couldn't turn it off, but I found out how to turn it off.
So you just use the reminders app still for your reminders?
Well, I use Siri. I don't ever go into the app. I don't need to. It does
Oh, I
everything.
see. So you just say Siri, make a reminder to blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I say like, let's say today, this is the weekend, right? Let's say I can't call my dentist, for instance. I could say, uh, schedule or I would say, remind me at 10:30 a.m. to call the dentist on
Okay,
Monday. And that's all I have to say. That way I don't have to go in and do the app or anything. And when we talk about reminders, remember, reminders can be just a list that have no time associated with them. Or like I told you there, it's a time-based reminder. At a certain time on a certain day, remind me this. Or it can be location-based. Like for instance, back when we had live MacNexus meetings, if I could say make a reminder and say, when I leave here, remind me to go by Home Depot and pick up 16 penny nails. And what it would do is when I left that building, it would then give me a reminder would pop up and say, go by Home Depot and pick up 16 penny nails. Or I could say, if I'm thinking about, oh my gosh, I got to remember it's trash day. So I could say, when I get home, remind me to take the trash out. So
gotcha.
it's location. You can make it be location based and it knows my home. Now, I couldn't say, when I get to Home Depot, remind me to get 16 penny nails because it doesn't know where Home Depot is. So when I leave here, it always knows your location. Or you could even say a certain time.
Okay,
Keith, go ahead with your question.
So I have an iPhone 14 Pro, and I want to buy a 16 Pro because the cameras are better in it. The telephoto and the wide angle are better cameras. And I also
Correct.
want to be able to take advantage of this AI feature when they start releasing these things. So my question to you is, should I try and upgrade this either through going to an Apple store and doing it or going through T-Mobile, which is the carrier I use? And does it matter?
It shouldn't matter, but I'll give you the idea on both of them. So, generally, so what you want to do is just research at T-Mobile what they're offering you for your old. They're going to give you a good trade-in, and Apple sometimes gives you a better trade-in. So that's going to be the factor that you're going to look at. And
Both of them give me the same trade-in value.
okay, and then they should be giving you the same value, because essentially the way you have to look at it is the Apple Store is just like a T-Mobile reseller. So in other words, they're doing that. And if you get it from Apple, it's always going to be an unlocked phone. So that helped. And well, I don't want to say always. It has always been in the past an unlocked phone, which is nice when you go to travel. And one thing that comes up these days is the iPhones, most of the iPhones now don't have a SIM slot. They have two eSIM capabilities, which means if, for instance, T-Mobile is the beauty one because you can go internationally virtually anywhere you want. But let's say that you're in Africa and T-Mobile gives you free data, but it's slower, and you want to get a local SIM that would be much faster and also maybe give you a local phone number for calling restaurants and things. You can have a local carrier eSIM would be electronically put into the phone, and they both work hand in hand, side by side, and you essentially would have two numbers. But the beauty of an unlocked phone is you can do that.
Okay.
But I would go by what they're offering. My recommendation also is if you go direct with T-Mobile, they have corporate stores and they have franchises. And the corporate stores, I would say are it's more important to deal with them because they're you're going to get the best deal and it's going to be a good deal. But I would do it from Apple. It's super easy, and in fact, you don't even have to go into the store. They'll send you the new phone. They'll send you a box to send your trade in, and then the changing the migration of your data, which we'll talk about in a second, and migrating your phone number over to the new phone all happen automatically. So the migration of the data, now here's the deal. Apple has what's called a quick start program. And the quick start program is what is what allows you to migrate or copy your data from one phone to the other. But when you're doing that, at one point, you have two options. One is to do the quick start via the cloud and MobileMe, or have it go phone to phone. I encourage everyone to do phone to phone because it brings in passwords, it brings in all kinds of stuff, but it takes longer. And I ran into that this time. Al, if you can do it when you get a chance, Apple Quick Start on how to do Quick Start. Just put on their phone to phone, but it gives you both the options. Mine took 30 hours to transfer my 1 terabyte of data. I'm sorry, my half terabyte of data from one phone to the other, but everything came in and it was perfect. It's the more sure way to make sure everything goes over. If you're in a rush, do it the iCloud way.
I'm not in a rush.
Yeah. So I set mine. It started at 9 o'clock one night. I had my iPad I could use for text, or not really text, but iMessage and stuff. And it says, oh, it's going to take over a day. And I was like, wow, last time it didn't. But anyway, it did. It took like about 30 hours total.
But you did that at home. You didn't do it at the Apple Store or the
No,
T-Mobile.
I did it at home. And I wouldn't encourage you to do it at the Apple Store because they're going to try to do it the fast way. And then they're going to want you to turn your phone in right away. if you have this mailed to your house, you still have the option of going to the Apple store. But the beauty is, 2 days after, 3 days after I got the phone, they sent me a box, and I can take my old phone, put it in that box, and it goes back to them. And then you get your, your trade in and all that. And I don't know if you're aware, but Apple has a thing called the upgrade program, where if you take the phone, and T-Mobile offers it now, it's over a little longer period, et cetera. But what it is I take and I pay 1/24 of what the phone cost every month.
Yeah.
But after 12 months, I can turn it in for a new one. The new one is basically the same price as the old one. So I just continue along with that. So I'm getting half the value of my phone back essentially, and I'm never really owning it. And because of you guys is how I justify that I get a new phone every year. So, and it's a bleeding edge. And Keith, you as a photographer, and I'm sure you're surprised as I am how much less you're using your big camera and how much more you're using your iPhone. But the 17, I'm hoping, will have a 10x zoom lens next year. So
X.
yeah, it's a 5x now.
Okay.
Samsung has had it, but I think Samsung had it in the 23, and then in the 24 version
Yeah,
they
they
did.
have. They have a better telephoto than Apple does. Yeah.
Yeah, and it uses the periscope. So I'm hoping that's what's going to happen with the 17. I don't know,
So you think I should
but
wait? 17? No.
the improvement to 48 megapixels on the ultra wide is really good, I think.
Okay.
So if you were on a 15, I would say don't bother with the upgrade to the 16, but because of the 5x lens. Although what's interesting, yours has what, a 3x lens or a 2x?
3X. It's 14.
Well, howdy, dear. How are you doing?
I'm doing just great, thank
Well,
you.
I'm fine. I'm sort of in my. I've got 3 computers.
It's okay, I got her muted. All right. So I actually find that there's times when I would have preferred the 3x over the 5x, but I love the 5x, so don't get me wrong, but it was kind of like it was more of a sweet spot. Actually, when I first got the 3x, it was like, wow, the 2x was better in many applications, So
If I want a big telephoto lens, I can also use 600 millimeter one on my regular camera.
exactly. Or the big thing is now is you can get a scope and put it through that. So
Okay.
anyway, good
All right.
question.
Thank you for
But
the.
yeah, I think Apple probably has the same deal. You can look online and do that, and you're up there. Let it just and if for some reason the transfer, so when they do the migration, if it messes up, you just do it again. It's not like it never deletes your original data. And I recommend holding on to the old phone for at least 10 days to make sure that everything's in it. And then it's super easy to wipe the phone and you just mail it right back to them, and boom, they give you a credit.
Okay. Thank you for the
So,
tips.
great question. Anybody else? Any other questions?
I'll just add, Ken, you have a huge amount of data and it took you 30 hours. If you're, to make it less scary, if you have a more normal amount of data on your phone, like I had about a little over 200 megabytes, phone to phone took just a little bit over 3 hours.
Yeah, I was going to guess maybe 4
Yeah.
or something. So, and Bob, that's an excellent point. And what you do is just start it right before you go to bed, answer the few questions, have them both plugged into power or on a wireless charger. You'll wake up in the morning and everything will be like magic. And both phones will still work, but one will actually be really making calls and the other one is just connecting through it. So before you leave the house, the best thing to do is turn off the old phone to make sure that the new phone works. Now, don't do like I do. And when it finally works and I leave the house, I get out there and oh crap, I picked up the old phone and it's got no connection because I'm away from my Wi-Fi at my house. So I was like, I don't know. There's something about if I leave my house without my phone, it's the old, junior high school thing. It's like I feel like I walked out of the house just in my underwear, So anyway, but yeah, it's very seamless. And again, I'm reluctant to do it in the stores because they want to take your phone right away. I want to make sure all my pictures got over and everything else beforehand. And it's called Quick Start. Great. Great questions so far. Anybody else? Any other questions? We are ahead of schedule, which is fine. And it seems like my voice is getting a second wind here finally.
Well, and you need your voice for what you're doing this afternoon.
Yeah. Mary, go ahead.
Mute.
You're muted. No, you're not. Now you are.
Okay. I noticed that like at night on my phone now the all the apps they have a black background. I find it a little is that just because it's on night mode? I mean, I could have looked this up, I'm sorry, but
No,
just
it's interesting that all of mine changed also. And usually when Apple makes a change like that, you get the option. They think they know better, so they did that. But you can go back and change it. And
is that night mode or something else?
no, it has to do with the way they made the icons.
Oh,
let's go back. Let me see if I've got a picture of
and
it.
maybe it's just a matter of getting it used to it, but
yeah, it took me a little to get used to it. But what's funny is like the weather app just doesn't look as good as it used to.
Well, and I think many of us, I have enough apps trying to remember, if I'm looking for one, I don't want to have to remember it two ways.
Yeah, thank goodness they didn't change the position, but let me look for you in a second here. Let me just do something. So do this, Mary, go to the home screen.
Mm-hmm.
And let me get mine unlocked. Press and hold any blank area. Press and hold for a minute.
Yeah.
Oh. And then do they start shaking?
Yep.
So in the upper left, it says edit. Tap
Okay.
edit.
Yeah.
And then tap customize. And now you can go back to your good old way, light, dark, automatic, or tinted.
There we go. Thank you.
You're welcome. And then when you get done, just press the button on the side and that'll take care of it.
Yeah.
But also you can do more with the actual pages and the grid and everything also, which is really nice, especially if you have I'll tell you one thing that might be good is so let's say you make, you have like a hole in the middle with no apps on one page. And then another page, you've got just things kind of from the top and another page from the bottom. That way, as you're swiping left and right, your pages could look distinctly different if you have them set up as say your travel apps or your financial apps or things like that. That's a whole nother way to do it. So,
yeah,
but
and
customization is good. Unfortunately, there's not the old way where we could hook it up to the Mac and move them around. I wish they would bring that back. So,
but
Hey, Ken.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks, Mary. Go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, how do you change the mode of your AirPods?
So, good question. So, are your AirPods with you there right now?
They're in my ears.
Okay. So, go to settings on your phone.
Okay.
And go to Bluetooth.
Okay.
And now, don't click on it, but do you see it says AirPods Pro or something in your list?
It does.
Now, to the right of it, you'll see a blue I, the letter I for info. with a
Correct.
circle around it. And if you tap that,
Okay, got it.
you should get the options. Now,
Got
mine
'em.
aren't connected, so it won't show up. And I think you have 4 options, right? Off, transparency, adaptive, and noise canceling, right?
That's exactly right.
Okay, good. Hey, I got that right. Okay.
I did too. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So, and then there's some other settings though now. If you look on that same one, you look down below, and I believe it's called adaptives. There's adaptive, and then there's let me grab mine really quick, and I'll bring them up so everybody can do it. So hang on one sec. Be right back. Be right back.
Yeah, it says adaptive audio. Must have left his phone out in the car.
Oh, my phone I got is my AirPods. My phone. All right, hang on here. Connected. So, oh, down farther under audio, it says conversational awareness. So what conversational awareness is, and I turned mine off, it senses other people speaking and lowers the volume of whatever I'm listening to and disables the noise reduction. So in other words, that way you would hear people better. To me, it was kind of distracting because it'd be great if you were in like an office environment where there's not a lot of people talking right at you, but it was picking up all kinds of other conversations.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, glad to have that panel. Thanks.
yeah. Go ahead, Mary, and then Barbara after that.
Oh, just on CarPlay, is it better to use the cord or to use Bluetooth?
Always better to use the cord, but Bluetooth works fine too. It's pretty good because you're right there. So whichever's easiest, and then if they're in whichever's least troublesome, I would say.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Barbara, go ahead. Hi, Thomas.
Yeah, I tried doing what you had Mary do, which is on the home screen, holding in a blank spot and the icon shake, but I don't get an option to edit. I only get done. So
Are you in iOS 18?
not an 18 yet, no.
No, that's an 18.
That's an 18 feature, okay.
Yeah, you can't do the many of those customizations I say are only in 18.
Okay, now I was waiting to hear your talk before I switched up to 18.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. It's been pretty good with no problems. My suggestion is if it's a mission critical device, you might wait till 18.1. I mean, that's supposed to be the end of this month, I believe. But then again, I don't know. It's just iOS is usually are pretty strong. It's the Mac that takes a little while to get perfect.
Right, okay, great.
Good deal. Anybody else? Any other questions? Doesn't have to be about this stuff. It can be anything else.
I got another
So,
question. Can you explain
go
a little
ahead.
bit about using focus on the phone and do not disturb?
Yeah. So we did a whole class on it, and you can go back in the videotape for it, but focus is really it's the new, and I have a feeling once we get AI, because the beauty of AI is, yes, it's going to be able to search and do all this, but you'll be able to use Apple Intelligence to adjust your device. excuse me, your devices. Like you can just say, turn on turn on do not disturb for 3 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever. And
Right.
so all the things you do manually, just like I told you a minute ago on how to make reminders really easy, is just make the reminder. Don't go in and use that. Use Siri. This will be, excuse me. Gosh.
Sure.
Sorry. It will, you'll be able to interact and it'll do things inside the phone for you, which is a whole new thing. I mean, I think that's going to be the answer, because you won't have to know how to do anything, because it'll do it. It'll do it for you. You just tell it what you want.
Yeah, yeah.
But focus, I would go over the video I did and
Okay.
and just Google anything you want on it, because everybody's going to be specific on how they want to use focus. But focus will reach into your calendar. And if you say, you pull up focus and you say, oh yeah, keep do not disturb on until the end of the meeting, because it saw the meeting was on your schedule.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else? Okay,
Yes, I have one, Joan.
go ahead.
I'm wondering when I have my phone on and I've got messages, I've got the certain people that I do messages with. Okay, they're pinned.
Right.
Okay, when I go to my computer, the same people, they keep going away on the computer instead of.
Are they not pinned on the computer?
Yeah, they've been pinned on the computer a couple times, but then when I go to use it, sometimes they're there and sometimes they're not.
Up in the pins, but they're down below?
Correct.
Interesting. Have you restarted the computer?
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
So you think it's just me?
Not necessarily, but I'm just trying to, because I don't use pins on my messages, but I'm just trying to look. That's the easiest way, because then it won't break, right? So when you go to repin them, let me just look here.
Yes.
Does it ask you to pin, or does it ask you to unpin?
Doesn't ask me anything. I go to pin
So
them.
if you, on your computer, if you control click on the individual, on the message, or, in the list, if you control click, pin comes up. And if pin comes up, means it's not pinned.
Control click. What do you mean? Control.
You go to you have your list of messages, right?
I'm looking at them now.
Okay, so pick one of them that you want to pin.
A
Okay.
person.
Yeah.
Okay.
So hold down the control key and click on that person, and you get a contextual menu, or right click on the person, either one. And pin is an option, right?
Okay.
So what I'm saying is if you, that, and then if it becomes unpinned, then we got to figure out what it is.
Huh.
Does that pin the person or the message?
Well, if the message is with one person, it pins it's a conversation is what it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I mean, now let's look at, yeah, there's no way to pin a message in the conversation. You pin the conversation. So I mean, I mistakenly said message, but that list is, and then if you have multiple people, I think it would pin that group, so to speak, if it's a group text.
Do, but it's, I've lost my daughter. It comes up with her initials and says her name under the pin, but it no longer shows her picture and stuff.
Oh, well, then the problem is it may have lost its way. And is that the only one that's doing that?
No, I have about 4 of them that are doing it.
So you want to verify that they're in the address book correctly.
Yeah, they are.
So if you click on her name on the conversation, okay? One
Okay.
time, just click on it so it's highlighted. And then does the message come up on the right? The conversation?
It's on the right now. I didn't.
Okay. When you click on her name, do you get another window that has all the conversation?
Well, I'm clicking on the icon. I'm not clicking on the name because I'm looking for.
Click on the message,
I'm
the
looking for the message.
conversation. So
It's
you have a
now.
list of multiple people, right?
Yes.
And when you click on one of them in the middle of it, does it have a window on the right that then gives you that entire conversation with that person?
Yes.
Okay. If you look in the upper right of that window, there's a little circle with an eye in it.
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
if you click
I've done that.
eye, it will tell you if that person's information. And if you click info again, it'll take you to the card. And
Yes.
that way you want to verify it's the right person. And it may be just
Yes.
that it got weird because it's not following the contact right.
No, it always does that. And then I go to edit for their picture and I get her a picture and then it disappears.
Well, what you need to do is search that exact name in your contacts and see if you have it in there multiple times, or also search that phone number or that email address, that Apple
Okay.
ID. Because
All right, I'll give
so
it a
what
try.
happens if you have multiple occurrences in the address book? In fact, I've seen it sometimes where it shows up the wrong person because for some reason the contact shows a different phone. It shows like that person's phone number and it's got somebody else's phone number in the contact. And so it just it always picks the wrong one, but it kind of randomly does it. So to me, that's usually an address book problem, because the phone number or the email address or the Apple ID is the same, but it just might be in a whole different contact. And it's looking like when someone calls you, it's not really caller ID. It could be, it's looking in the contacts to try find that person's name of the phone number that's calling you. And in fact, if it popped up and two people, if you had that phone number under 2 different people, it might show up the wrong person.
Okay.
It doesn't come from the phone company. It's basically looking up that phone number and looking at the contact. And in this case, it could be the exact same thing. And with those 4 or 5 people, I would just look and do a search through it and see.
I think so. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's just weird how it does that, and it never seems to pick the right one. It's always, but then you're alerted to it. You got to figure out what's up. Good question.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay. All right. Good enough. Thomas, Bob, Lisa, board members, are we okay with is noon too early or should we go 12:30? Is that okay for our meeting?
I'm a maybe.
Maybe because of the time change or maybe at all?
Maybe at all. We're having some.
So 1 or 12 or 12:30 doesn't make a difference to you?
I think earlier is more probable.
Okay.
I'm sorry. This
Bob,
just.
what's your feedback?
Yeah, either 12:30 or 1, both are okay.
Okay. 'Cause I was thinking noon gives us an hour because we're wrapping up now.
Long as I know when.
Okay, Lisa?
Noon is fine. Noon or 12:30, either.
Okay. Thomas,
No,
are you around?
Yeah,
Rich?
any of that is fine with me.
Okay.
But Bob said 12:30. I wonder if he knows about 12 o'clock.
That's what Ken proposed. And
Yeah, I emailed that out and I'm trying to think who else we don't have here.
Randy.
Bob Russ and Randy.
And
And I
Bob.
think
both out of
Randy was
town.
going to be missing anyway, wasn't he?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm the secretary today.
let you guys, I'll be okay with 12:30 because I can do some stuff before then. So
Okay, 12:30.
with the individual email, let's stick with that.
Okay.
Okay. And to
And
remind
look
you,
at your email because
go to
it's a
Ken's
different,
email because it's a different link than we
right.
Oh, right.
normally use.
All right.
Okay, good. That's good to know.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's my personal link. So,
Can
in
you
fact,
resend that, Ken?
I was just going to say, yeah. And if you wouldn't mind, I'll put that link in the chat. And members are welcome to come to the boring board meeting if you want. It's no problem. But excuse me.
Hmm.
Oh, I think I need a hot shower with steam. Okie dokie. Anybody else? Any questions? Good deal. iOS 18. Yeah, Barbara, I think it's kind of up to you, but it's got some good stuff. I haven't really heard any problems. There was
Okay.
initial problems on one version of the iPad, but it's gone away. So, I don't think it's a problem. Just make sure that your phone is backed up with the iCloud backup just in case.
Okay, great,
And
thanks.
do it at night so it can make the transfer of the data or the migration of the data overnight.
Okay, thanks for the suggestion.
You bet.
Hope you feel better soon, Ken.
I'm feeling better every day, but it's just,
That's better. Wow.
Yeah.
yeah.
That poor, what is it, a wedding thing you have to go to? You don't sound real good.
My good friends it's their 50th wedding anniversary. And luckily I don't have a lot to say, but yeah.
Gotta be able to say it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want everybody, I don't want to be the attraction. So man dies while doing this, Anyway,
See you
okay,
at
Thank you.
everybody.
12:30.
Thank you, Ken.
Thanks very
Thanks,
much.
Ken.
Have a great day.
And
Be well.
Keep an eye
Good
out.
job as
Use the
usual.
Aurora app. We're hitting the peak of Aurora season coming up, and it could be good.
Yeah, there's been some news segments, local news segments where they posted people's pictures. I immediately thought of you you know, the local weather stations and stuff, the media stations is
Yeah,
they're always looking
I don't
to.
want to tell them about this because every time people came up, there were a few people that found out about my spot, and their headlights would light up the foreground, and so that was kind of disconcerting.
All up.
But I sent you the directions, so.
Yeah, yeah.
And Bob, are you interested? I can send them to you too. Anybody that wants them.
I'm not real worried about it. It's
It's
not
over here
that
in
far
Lincoln.
from me, but
But you
I'm not worried
just
about it.
look a clear view to the north. It's amazing.
It's amazing. Yeah, some of the photos were pretty impressive.
Yeah, awesome.
Actually, I saw your directions, or you had them on, or was it on Facebook, I think?
I posted on Facebook.
That
Yeah,
map, yeah.
so it's a new housing area, and it's up high enough. And it was weird last night. Night before.
Yeah, I had a
Night
crazy
before.
thought when I was looking at that map, though. My crazy thought was, I wonder if Ken's going to buy a house up there for photos.
Well, what's funny? I've thought of it, but I have a view of sunset from where I live, and it would be different. But also, there's so many activities here that's a huge draw. And my big thing
Oh, yeah.
is I'm on NEM 1 on my solar, so I don't pay anything. And the new NEM 3 is terrible with PG&E, where they hardly reimburse you at all. But the other thing is, up there I've spotted two lots that has both sunrise and sunset, and that would be intriguing as hell. But you know what? I can drive to it the few times I need it,
Yeah.
and I don't need to complicate my life.
And
Everything's really smooth where it is.
that's a lot less expensive than buying a house.
I love what this has to offer, and I could do it, but it's just like, why? I'd rather spend that time and energy traveling, and so. But yeah, they're pretty. There's different levels of homes. There's there's the Trilogy by Bickford, and then there's Elliott Homes up there, and then there's Toll Brothers, which are really high end. So they've kind of mixed it, but it's a neat thing. And that place I shoot from won't ever be a problem with homes because it drops off into a little gorge, and there's going to be no homes blocking where I see this view. So
Oh, cool.
it was good. Yeah. Now traffic will be a little bit of a thing, but it's not that big a deal.
I'm having a keyboard issue. Maybe you can shed some light on it. I've got,
Okay, well, see you at 12:30.
Thanks, Bob.
I've got Apple's keyboard with the security key on it, and somehow when I just started, I think when I loaded Sequoia on, um, the volume keys, the F11 and F12, they don't control volume anymore. And I went to the
Okay.
settings keyboard, um,
And
and
did you toggle F off and on?
where do I go in that? And that's
Yeah, hang on. And I'm not on Sequoia, but I think, but let me just do this. Hang on. Function. I just go into the search for that and go to function keys.
function.
So it's keyboard and then function keys. Or I just typed in function.
Function. Okay, I see the screen. I've got
And it says function keys, right?
okay, I'm not seeing. I'm
Is
seeing
that
the
an option in the search?
uh function. Okay, there we go.
Actually,
Yeah, I
you can
got it.
share.
Use so I've got it turned on uh as standard keys. Okay, should I turn it off?
No, you want that off.
The off or on?
You want it off.
Okay.
You don't want them as function keys. You want them as Apple keys.
Okay. Okay, that must
So
have been.
try that and then try your volume right now.
Yep, that's it. Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Did you used to have that on?
Well, I think I was looking at, I was exploring what could be done in the way of remapping some of these, and I must have turned that on accidentally.
Yeah.
And
And then oh, actually turn it back. Well, hang on, I'll do it. So hang on, let me try something. So obviously I'm trying it. It was up and down volume, right? Okay. Oops.
yeah,
Uh-oh, it did function. So let me do this. So if you have it on, you should be able to hold down the function key and it toggles it, kind of like when you do a shift. So good, now I'm back, done.
I've got it turned off now, and it's behaving like it did.
Right, but what I'm saying is if you have it on, because if you need to use function, you just hold the key. Are you on an extended keyboard
Yeah,
with
it's
the
an
numbers
extended key.
pad?
Yeah, yes.
The key to the right of the delete, which is the FN key.
Yeah, gotcha.
If you hold that down, that should restore them to function.
Okay, maybe I must have toggled that because I hit the delete.
No,
Obviously,
it doesn't. It won't turn it on or off. It's a temporary hold. It's like cat shift versus caps lock.
okay, okay,
Toggling it on the system preferences will make it like caps lock is on. Whereas holding down that function just temporarily enables it.
okay. It temporarily enables the default
Yeah,
or
so to use them as function and probably just the opposite,
okay.
but I don't know for sure.
So if I wanted to remap some of those keys for something different, then I would turn the function keys on.
Well, but remember that right now they're remapped to something already. There's
Yeah.
screen
Okay.
brightness, screens, all of that.
Uh-huh.
And that's with it off. And then if you remap it, you would have to, so you can leave it off, but you should be able to hold that button down and then tap one of the function keys. And if you've mapped, let's see,
But-
F8, for instance, to something new, that would work as F8. But if you release the function key, it should work on the other. But my recommendation is just try one of the keys and see what happens.
So I'm looking at my keyboard, F13, 14, and 15. There's no icon there. What do those do? I mean, is there a default for those keys?
Well, they don't do anything for Apple because that's not on most of the keyboards.
Okay, can those can be remapped for something?
Well, I don't know. You'd have to look in the keyboard
Well,
mapping thing and see if it's available, because those would be ones that you couldn't mess up.
yeah, yeah. I'll have to do that, or just map them so that they do a shortcut for you or something of that nature. You know. All right, that's great because I was living with that and it was annoying me. I have to go up to the menu to change the damn
Well, was
volume.
that something that worked before that then got disabled?
Yeah, well, like I said, I must have and while exploring some keyboard options, I must have
Well,
somehow
there's still modifier keys, where you can use
yeah,
multiple keys to cause stuff.
yeah. And I use those modifier keys, option control and command, all the time, of course. But it's always nice to have that audio up or down uh
Oh,
readily.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's pretty convenient. All right, bud. Thank you. Are we
See you at 12:30.
alrighty, sounds good.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Oh, and don't forget chat.
Yeah. I gotta say, were there many inserts there in the chat before I came? I was about 5 minutes
No,
late.
not at all.
Okay. All right.
Nothing
Alrighty, bud.
there was
In a bit.
nothing.
Hey,
Thank you.
Ken, oh,
Yeah, go ahead.
we're using your Zoom link for the board meeting, correct?
I
Yeah,
posted it in the
the one
chat.
that I emailed, and
In the
Al put
chat.
it in chat for the
Yeah.
meeting here.
All right,
Because
great.
Wits is going to be using theirs.
Right, okay. I just wanted to make sure. All right, see you at 12:30 then.
Thank you.
Oh,
And
thank you.
if Joan, if you're going to Wits, you'll have to redo this connection.
Okay, thank you.
Because I'm going to end the meeting and then they'll restart it.
That's fine.
Thank you. Have a good day, everybody.
And
All
that
right.
solved the problem. I think there
I'm
was
sorry?
that solved the problem. There were some double entries.
Oh, okay. Yeah. What do I call it? Crossover or, pollination kind of.
Okay, thank you.
Good. I'm glad that worked. Bye-bye.
Bye.